She stood in the courtroom, not flinching, not fidgeting, just breathing. For the first time in decades, Meri Brown wasn't being polite. She wasn't making herself small to keep the peace. This wasn't a family meeting. It wasn't another awkward episode of Sister Wives where she got talked over or tiptoed around by producers trying to keep things neutral. This was court. This was real, raw, unedited. And finally, after all the emotional bruises, the public shame, the loyalty that got her nowhere, she was the one speaking. Meri had been silent for a long, long time. That kind of silence isn't just quiet. It's the kind of silence that builds up pressure under your ribs when you're told to be the good wife. When your marriage is dropped without conversation, your role minimized, but you keep filming, you keep smiling, you keep sitting on that couch beside the man who once said you'd always matter, even as he rewrote the definition of equal right in front of the camera. Hi friends, this is Helena from TLC's Sister Wives News. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment if you've ever screamed at your screen during Sister Wives because someone just would not speak up. Because this time, they finally did. Meri Brown, the original wife, the one who started it all with Kody back in '90, stood up and laid everything out in court. Not just receipts, not just contracts, but her truth. After 30 years of being sidelined, devalued, and spiritually divorced without any meaningful care or closure, she wasn't here to beg for affection. She was here to take back what she was owed. Not just a piece of land, her identity. If you followed the series for any length of time, you know what she gave up. First wife status, legal recognition, emotional security. She kept trusting that one day things would even out, that her loyalty would mean something. But when the paperwork came in, her name was gone. And still, she didn't scream. She didn't rage. She just stood up and finally broke the silence that held her captive. The cameras caught a lot of things over the years. Tense dinners, family meetings and folding chairs, awkward driveway conversations, moments when things looked honest but still felt edited. But what they didn't highlight loud enough was the cost Meri paid every single time she chose loyalty over self. Back in 2014, when she legally divorced Kody so he could adopt Robyn's kids, Meri framed it as a spiritual decision. She said all the right things, that it didn't change much, that they were still married in every way that mattered. But watching her eyes when she said those things, you could tell it did change everything. Because no matter how much she tried to stay in it emotionally, the hierarchy shifted. From legal wife to reminder of a past Kody was eager to rewrite. And then there was the catfish scandal. It played like drama on TV, but to Meri, it was real heartbreak. She'd been isolated, emotionally starved, and looking for connection. What she got was betrayal on top of betrayal. And instead of being met with care or understanding, Robyn and Kody turned the fallout into another reason for distance. That chapter became a weapon, and it never got put down. But the thing is, Meri stayed. Not just the name. She stayed for the family. She showed up for birthdays. She stood awkwardly at holidays. She supported Robyn's kids. And while the show never really gave her credit for this, she kept investing, not just emotionally, but financially too. Lula roll checks show earnings, which, by the way, wouldn't exist without her face and emotional labor. Multiple times on the show, she mentioned putting money into the family trust that was supposed to go toward developing that land. And then came the discovery. Quiet, off camera, no dramatic TLC music, just paperwork. That cold, bureaucratic moment in 2023 when Meri and Janelle realized something wasn't right. Property tax statements weren't matching the ownership records, so they pulled the files. And that's when it hit. Her name wasn't even on the deed, not for a square inch. The land she thought was part of her future, the land she helped pay for, marketed for, pushed through meetings for, had been legally locked away, signed over to C&I and Robyn. No discussion, no warning. And all those promises about equal division, gone. What was once a dream became a sharp, painful confirmation. After everything she gave to that family, they hadn't even bothered to tell her. They just quietly erased her from the plan. The turning point didn't come with fireworks or shouting. It came with paperwork, missing names, and tax deadlines. In 2023, Janelle was the first to notice something strange. She was trying to sort out a late property tax notice on her portion of Kody Pass. And when she looked deeper, really looked, nothing lined up. Her name wasn't showing where it should, not on the land, not on the documents. At first, she thought maybe it was a clerical error. Then she called Meri. They went over documents together, checked emails, bank records, even pulled up old text messages. And that's when the full picture hit both of them like a punch to the gut. They didn't own anything, not one legal acre. Meanwhile, two names did keep appearing again and again, Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. After everything, after all those family discussions, after the countless times Kody promised that each wife would have an equal share, he'd cut them out quietly, deliberately. And when they asked him about it, his answer wasn't apologetic. It wasn't even confused. It was deflective. He told them, I put in more money. I had to be the one to lead. You weren't invested like we were. Gaslighting at its finest. As if spiritual wives who helped build this family business from the very start suddenly didn't qualify. As if filming for years, running their businesses, promoting the family unit on camera, raising children, that counted for nothing. He called Meri detached, said she didn't seem interested, but what he didn't say was that the decisions had already been made long before she realized what was going on. Then came the emails. Not rumors, not speculation, actual messages between Robyn and the real estate attorney sent months before any of the other wives knew a thing. In one, she wrote plainly, "We don't want the other wives to make things messy. Better to finalize everything before they notice." That word messy said everything. It wasn't just exclusion. It was calculated. Meri looked at those messages and everything suddenly became clear. The loyalty she clung to for 30 years, the forgiveness, the embarrassment she endured, the silence she kept, wasn't respected. It was used. Her quiet faithfulness made her easier to push aside. And they did. The courtroom wasn't reality TV. There were no interview chairs, no producers guiding the flow, no chance to edit or spin the narrative later. And when Meri Brown took the stand, the entire atmosphere shifted. This wasn't the quiet wife anymore. This wasn't the woman who used to sit in the background while Kody led with a smirk and Robyn smiled sweetly next to him. This was someone who had found her voice, and she used it with precision. Calm but visibly emotional, Meri stared directly at the judge, held up legal documents, bank transfers, show contracts, all evidence that proved she contributed to Kody Pass financially, emotionally, publicly. She pointed to multiple payments made from her LuLaRoe business, thousands of dollars that went into the family trust she believed was being used to secure home plots for each wife. And yet, she explained, she was never notified of any deed transfers. Her name didn't exist in any legal paperwork connected to the property. Behind her, Janelle sat like a shield, not angry, but unwavering. Robyn shifted, uncomfortable. Kody remained motionless, but his jawline told the story better than his face. And then it cracked open even more. Meri's attorney brought forward Exhibit 17A, a signed 2018 contract with TLC. It clearly stated that shared income from filming would be used to equally support the development of 4 homes on Coyote Pass. All 4 original wives signed it, including Robyn. This wasn't verbal, it was binding, documented, and commercially funded. The audience in the courtroom started murmuring. The judge didn't hide her disbelief. She leaned forward, sharp-eyed, and asked Robyn to step up. Robyn's testimony began carefully, almost rehearsed, but when Meri's lawyer read aloud Robyn's own 2021 email to the real estate attorney, the dam finally broke. "Better if we get it all done before they notice," the lawyer read. Whispers rippled across the bench and audience. Robyn's face dropped. "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered. But no one needed her to finish. The meaning was in the choices she made, not the tone she used. By the time she sat back down trembling and no longer composed, the truth was undeniable. Meri wasn't the disposable wife trying to hang on. She wasn't delusional or being dramatic. She was right. And now the record showed it. After everything that had been said, all the papers presented, all the uncomfortable truths dragged into the light, it was finally Kody's turn to speak, and you could feel the courtroom change. The same man who always controlled the conversation, spun the story his way in interviews, sat down now with his arms crossed, and that signature scowl carved across his face. No editing this time, no monologue to the camera, just Kody on the stand, under oath. He didn't waste time trying to sound remorseful. When the judge asked directly whether he had informed Meri or Janelle of the deed transfer, his answer came fast. "No, just that." And when she followed up with, "Why not?" he shrugged with a half smirk, saying he didn't think they were interested anymore, that they were aloof, detached, not committed like he and Robyn were. That's when it got tense, because Meri's lawyer stood up again, holding up several large binders full of receipts. Literal dollar amounts directly from Meri's accounts. Contributions to property taxes, bank statements showing deposits into the family trust, show contracts with agreed-upon distribution clauses, all marked, highlighted, undeniable. Then came Kody's infamous 92% claim. "I paid for 92% of it," he insisted, voice raised now, confident like he was dropping a trump card. But right after he said it, Meri's lawyer calmly asked one question that shut everything down. "Was that percentage calculated from your personal employment or from shared income generated by all 5 adults?" Kody paused way too long. Then he muttered, "The show money went into a shared account. I managed the distribution." Exactly. That 92% he kept throwing out like a badge of honor wasn't really his. It was family money, earned from group filming, from book deals, public appearances, businesses built off the brand of being sister wives, a brand Meri helped create and sustain. Even when she was pushed aside emotionally, he didn't know what to say. He backpedaled, tried to talk about hard work, investments, expectations. The courtroom wasn't buying it. The truth wasn't just slipping out. It was crumbling. The man who spent years gaslighting grown women on TV was suddenly being seen clearly for what he was. Someone who manipulated loyalty and used power dynamics to protect his dream on the backs of the very women now asking to be counted. And this time, Kody couldn't fast talk his way out. Everyone held their breath when the judge walked back into the courtroom with the decision in hand. No one was speaking. You could almost hear the nerves settling into the benches like dust. Meri sat upright. No tears, no tension on her face, just stillness. Janelle beside her, equally composed, though her fingers were laced together so tightly they were turning white. Across the aisle, Robyn clutched a tissue as if it could protect her from the truth. And Kody still postured like a man holding onto a kingdom that had already fallen. The judge's voice cut through the room like a blade, calm, firm, and unmoved. She didn't stall. She laid it out clearly. The court found that all 4 adult spouses had entered into verbal, written, and financial agreements regarding Coyote Pass, that these agreements were represented publicly, contractually, and consistently, and that those agreements were violated knowingly by Kody Brown and assisted by Robyn Brown. Boom. Then came the real consequence. The entire property would be reappraised at full market value, and Meri and Janelle would be compensated accordingly. If that payment wasn't made within 90 days, the land would be sold, split 4 ways, 25% each. It was the win Meri never got from 30 years of marriage. It was the validation that quiet loyalty did mean something, and that you can't just erase someone because you've emotionally moved on. Kody didn't say a word. Not to the judge, not to anyone. He just stared down at the table like the verdict itself would dissolve if he blinked hard enough. But it didn't. Robyn, silent. She didn't even look in Meri's direction. The same woman who once asked for her friendship now looked like she'd seen a ghost herself, reflected in choices she never wanted to own. And outside the courthouse, the aftershock started immediately. Gwen Brown tweeted, "Mom was right. So was Meri. They deserved that land." Pettin posted a video on TikTok laughing, saying Kody's mad because he finally got caught. The illusion that Kody controlled the story, over. This wasn't just Meri winning a court case. This was years of being ignored, talked over, undermined, finally taking form in one legal ruling that couldn't be spun for the cameras. Sometimes the biggest victories don't come with a crowd cheering or a trophy in hand. Sometimes it's a woman holding a coffee mug with 2 quiet words on it. I matter. A few months after the verdict, Meri Brown went live on Instagram from a small cabin-style home just outside of Park City, Utah. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't built for cameras. There were no big production lights planned. Just Meri, standing barefoot on her own floorboards, walking through the place she bought herself, a house where every door, wall, and window belonged to her. She smiled the way we hadn't seen her smile in years. Not the tight public smile that begged to be seen in a family that kept brushing her aside. This was relief. This was peace. And when she held up that mug, white ceramic, simple font, nothing fancy, it said more than most of her past confessionals ever had. This wasn't just a house. This was evidence. Evidence that she could rebuild without Kody, that she didn't need permission to take up space, that she was more than the wife Kody kept compartmentalized and cataloged. She was her own life, her own name, her own legacy. For 3 decades, Meri believed in a structure that told her if she just waited, she'd be included again, that if she loved hard enough, God would reward the obedience. But in that courtroom and on that porch in Park City, Utah, the lesson was crystal clear. Faithfulness that goes one way is a trap. She was loyal to a man who never planned to circle back. Her silence was mistaken for weakness. Her patience became the excuse to leave her out again and again. And it almost worked until she refused to be erased. Now she's living on her terms. She owns dirt with her name on it. Not Kody's, not the Brown family trust, hers. She wasn't asking to dominate. She just wanted to exist with dignity. And for the first time in years, Meri's no, it's waiting to be included in a life she helped build. She's creating one that belongs to her alone. And honestly, that's the real win. Not just the court ruling, not even the land compensation, but the power to say in front of the whole world, I'm not invisible anymore. She got the last word, and she didn't have to raise her voice to do it.